Welcome, everyone. I'm Olena Kudria. I'm a marketing director at Redtag company, and I'll be your host today. I will host today's podcast, "Choosing the Perfect Partner: A Guide to Salesforce Outsource Services." And our session will run approximately 30 minutes. And please feel free to ask your different questions at the end of our podcast. So now let's get started. And I'm excited to introduce our awesome speakers, Andre Van Kampen and Oleg Smola, our CTO of Redtag company. So please, you are welcome to start.
Yeah, thanks, Olena. I'm Oleg Smola, CTO at Redtag, and today we have a special guest joining us, Andre Van Kampen. We worked together for about 10 years already. It's our returning happy customer, an experienced Salesforce consultant, very proactive in Salesforce communities. Salesforce MVP, and I can talk a lot about the owners, but Andre, thanks for being here today. Please introduce yourself to the crowd.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I'm Andre, need Salesforce MVP, but also owner of Comp Consult, which I started a few years ago. And yeah, besides that, I'm also very active in the Salesforce community here in the Netherlands with the user group and events like Your Dreaming. But we're today to talk about Redtag and Comp Consult, of course. And indeed, for more than 11 years, we've now been working together.
Oh, yeah. It's about 10, 11. I don't remember, those dates already, but yeah. Thanks. Let's start with an overview. So, Andre, can you please share your perspective on the current trends in the Salesforce ecosystem and how they impact businesses in sectors like healthcare, retail, e-commerce, and manufacturing?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the recent changes or the current trends, there's a lot of them. Of course, there's one that's been marketed, especially by Salesforce, is AI. So I won't say too much about AI, but it is of course a very, very hot topic. But of course, there's a few other things what you see, and I've noticed it especially in e-commerce, but well, actually retail and manufacturing, is of course that also with everything happening in the world at the moment, companies are a little bit bit more scared to really take on big things, make big changes, and everything. So that's of course something you see, but luckily you also see everything that happened in the last, let's say, 10 years or 5 years, that the Netherlands and also Belgium, there were focus countries for Salesforce. And yeah, you can see people have been, and companies have been really using Salesforce to upgrade their existing CRM or automate, how do I say that nicely, but automate as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. And how do you see the role of Salesforce partners in helping businesses choose the right Salesforce solution for their specific needs, especially as you mentioned in the Netherlands, for example?
Yeah, that's in that sense, even with choosing Salesforce, Salesforce partners, yeah, can have a very important role. And what I find is, if you compare the Netherlands and maybe also a bit Belgium, but especially compared to, like, for instance, the US or the UK, in Netherlands we often say, sure, you want to sell me this, but show me a working product first. It needs to have a proven track record and everything. Whereas I think in the UK and the US, quite often, it's more it's more sort of, the stuff that's coming in the future and the roadmap and all that kind of stuff. That's what gets people and companies excited. When here in Holland, it's more like, yeah, no, we don't really care about that. Just what can we have today? And especially in some, for instance, manufacturing, that's, one of the industries I'm very active in. There's also, like, if you introduce something and it goes wrong, then yeah, the whole manufacturing process might break. And for you for us as a partner, yeah, we can really help with the selection. Are we going to do Salesforce or not? Or of course, finding the right products and licenses and implementation plan based on the requirements and the actual added value it gives. Because yeah, we're not here to sell Salesforce.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
But Salesforce helps us, right? I mean, they have a lot of demos, for example, of manufacturing cloud that you can use and kind of show this working prototype already and kind of sell them it right away and optimize their processes. Yeah.
Very, very true. I'd just like to add to that. They're the role of partners is often we understand those customers, well, because we often have a relationship with those customers already. So we can then help Salesforce actually build that demo or proof of concept or that type of stuff. Just because that's our added value. We know the customers better and the industry is better than most people at Salesforce. I know some people from Salesforce won't agree with this, but that is my part. One of the big reasons partners exist.
Yeah, indeed. It's a tailored solution for this specific customer, but not just kind of generic Salesforce Manufacturing Cloud demo, for example, that we show. Indeed. All right. With your extensive consulting background, so how is it important for a company to select the right partner when you choose Salesforce already? Yeah. How
Yeah.
would you actually kind of choose the right partner?
So that can be yeah, cut down in a few areas, or let's say focus points. Is of course find the right partner, find a partner that knows your industry. For instance, retail, manufacturing. There's big overlap, but there's usually very different types, or non-profits, for instance. So I would say find a partner that knows your industry, but also knows the either the type of company, because of course every company has their own sort of way of working, and yeah, a startup definitely works different to a large multinational with hundreds of thousands of people. But for me, the two most important things are culture. There's so many cultural differences between countries, but even regions within countries. For instance, here in Holland, we of course, as a country, we have a certain culture when it comes to business. But I've also noticed within the country, there you can pretty much cut the country in two, and one side, the other side. There's nuances there. So yeah, find a partner who knows how to deal with that. And yeah, no, actually, yeah, find a partner that knows how to deal with that, and of course has the right knowledge.
Yep. Thank you. Insightful. Yeah, you mentioned a couple of times already Netherlands, and Netherlands is kind of a part of Benelux region. So do you
Yes.
see some significant differences between the countries there?
Well, yeah, that too. So for anyone who doesn't know, so the Benelux region is the three countries: Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and yeah, there's definitely big differences. And let's say I found out the hard way the differences between let's say doing business in Amsterdam or in Antwerp or Brussels, and even Ghent. For me, Antwerp, Ghent, they're completely different. For instance, how direct the communication is. As Dutch people, we often get the complaint or the feedback, you're too direct. And I've noticed that people in Ghent can be a lot more direct than we are. So those are definitely differences, but then also and I think that's probably the most important one to know, decision-making process. Because of course we are there to help the companies and the teams and the customer, but they also have to decide to work with us. And if you sometimes, even when you have a sign off, but that person, for instance, in Belgium, I've noticed it. The person might sign off, and then after you push, because Dutch people also like to push a bit, they will do it. But because of the cultural differences with decision making, they feel like they have to go up a few steps in the decision making hierarchy to actually get the proper sign off, and that's something to be really aware of. And that's one thing I've noticed also. We're working with Redtag. Yeah, you guys understand how that works within the different cities and regions.
Yeah, it's a great insight, Andre. Thanks. Have you worked with German clients? Are they really different from the clients in NL, for example?
Yeah, I think they're a good combination, or they're a combination of let's say some Belgian culture and Dutch communication style. But there again, the hierarchy is very important, which also means the decision-making process might take a bit longer than, for instance, with some Dutch companies where the hierarchy is, well, very often non-existent or just super flat. Yeah.
Cool. Like Dutch clients are more flexible, all right? So, or not exactly, but kind of looks like sometimes they tend to make decisions more quickly, let's say.
Yeah. That's and also a lot more informal in communication and also daily work and project work. But deadlines are sacred, and I think that's pretty much counts for the entire Benelux region plus Germany.
Yeah, all world, I would say.
I've worked with French and Australian customers, and deadlines are more of a guideline, not so much a fact.
All right, that's good to know as well. Thanks. All right, let's talk about staff augmentation a bit. I'll try to quickly remind what staff augmentation is for all of you. So this approach allows companies to quickly access specialized skills such as Salesforce development or administration of unique clouds or Salesforce products without the long-term commitment of hiring full-time employees. So it's actually a very flexible and cost-effective way to scale the teams and ensuring that the right expertise is available when needed for projects like implementations, integrations, migrations, and so on. Besides that, you can actually hire almost the whole team that can complete the project with you. So for some businesses, it's actually very important to have such partner as well. Andre, how does it benefit companies looking to implement Salesforce solution, especially in terms of flexibility, expertise, etc.?
Yeah, so from what I've seen, and that's also for I think most of my projects, most of my customers, but also what I've seen with other partners, is often you start thinking about partnering up with an implementation partner just because you don't have certain knowledge. But then what you see often is that the resources, like how do you attract these resources within your project or within your company? And that's one thing I really like about the staff augmentation is the people working there work as part of your own team. So from the perspective of the end customer, you don't have to have, often you have maybe one administrator, or you already have a whole team of developers, consultants, architects, and everything. But then the knowledge you get from a partner, and they just work with the same tools in the same cadence, same time zones often, as your own team, and that's what makes it a lot better than, let's say, the standard consulting, where consultants just come, or let's say traditional consulting, where a group of consultants just comes in, they bring their own tools and the way of working and everything, and at the end, the customer, you might be surprised at what they've delivered, good or bad surprises. So and that's what I've seen. Yeah, especially also the flexibility, because often when you start when you've just purchased Salesforce, for instance, you don't really know how many people do you need now, or you already have Salesforce, but you're expanding with a new product, new module. Am I going to need 3 people now? Maybe one person for 2 hours a week, or something in between, and for how long? And that's where the augmentation comes in, great with the flexibility there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And also, I would like to add that having this Salesforce team set up, companies actually can focus more on their core business operations, on the purpose, on some bigger goals they have, because they kind of freed their resources to just kind of continue and working more towards strategic goals of their business. So it's yeah, also one more value added.
Indeed. Yeah, indeed. Sorry, we need to add to that. Say at the end of the project, or the end of let's say your agreement for these augmented people, the knowledge stays with you as a customer, because everyone has been part of your team anyway. So it's not like, okay, we're done with this project and we're going away and we're taking all the knowledge with us. So that knowledge actually stays with you.
Yeah. And how to ensure that this additional team members aligns with client goals and expectations? So how do better onboard them, let's say, and having the team?
Good one. So that, I mean, there's a few ways, of course. That's definitely a joint effort, and I think that's also important to remember for both the partner and the customer side. It's a joint effort here. There should be a lot of training and handover in the beginning, of course, because say we come in at a new customer, new project. The customer, you need to tell us, who are you, how do you work, what's your culture, and the little intricate things within your team. But then once we start sharing our knowledge about Salesforce, and maybe also the way of working and industry details, that kind of stuff, or best practices that we've seen somewhere else, we then make sure that using those same systems, knowledge base, or whatever you want to call it, or whichever tool you use, that it's also stored there, including in your team's, like internal teams' minds as well.
Sure. Yeah. It's like sharing knowledge. Yeah, agree. It's also kind of a new blood to the team, then bring new ideas and can optimize the processes of your company as well. Yeah.
Indeed. And just one thing I want to add to that is a handover like that does not mean at the end of a project there's a 120-page PDF document that's being emailed. That's not how we do that. It's a continuous process.
Yeah, indeed. All right. AI-driven solutions are becoming more prevalent. And Andre, how do you see partners incorporating AI into their maybe Salesforce offerings? Or yeah, how should we use AI?
Yeah, I mean, there's of course two ways. There's a ton of AI tools outside Salesforce that we can use to either work together as a team, or maybe I know, and and there's also the say the app exchange tools. There's a ton of tools and solutions out there that also have components of AI in them, or are completely based on AI for either analytics or generating, let's say, data or documents. That's one thing I've seen a lot, to create quotes, for instance. But then on the other side, there's also, let's see, that was not two, that's three sides. The internal products of Salesforce, with the whole Einstein, the AI platform, and there's of course that, and we have the knowledge of all these different products, maybe a little bit of the roadmap, what's coming. So yeah, I think our biggest role there is to make everyone aware that it exists and what the added value is, of course, and maybe also the price tag, and help them a bit with negotiations with Salesforce. That's also what we can do, definitely.
Yeah, thank you. But the data is the most important piece of it, right? If you want to use AI, you should have a clear data, validated data in your system.
Yeah, that's I mean, I can talk about it for hours or probably days about your data, and that's a neat thing. If you're thinking about doing anything with AI, say the AI products of Salesforce, please talk to us, or your data steward, or data architect, analyst, anyone that has the word data in the title. Yeah, make sure you have a good information strategy, clean data. If you don't have that, let's start cleaning, upgrading, filling, and all that, standardizing. Let's do all that first, because your AI solutions will work 100 times better when you do that.
Sure, absolutely agree. Andre, when it comes to providing top-notch services, right? How important do you think it is for companies to keep learning and growing?
It's I almost want to say the let's say the cliche thing of change is the only constant in our lives, and also with because we are still talking about software and tooling. That just keeps changing so often, and indeed, if I notice it as well, if I have let's say a slow 6 or 12 months when it comes to learning or keeping up with the newest latest release updates and everything, you're just so out of touch. So that's something, yeah, that's a must for partners to just always keep up to date, because I know most customers just don't have the time for it, or resources, or are not allowed to do it, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it is really vital to stay up to date, and not just one person. Please spread the love there as well.
Yeah, indeed. So at Redtag, we are a big believers in ongoing education. So we make sure our team is always learning and developing new skills. Our R&D department works on the new Salesforce products to onboard them faster. And the Tech Academy regularly shares knowledge of new features from the new releases, etc. So we try to do it on a regular basis, and it helps us a lot to give the best service to our partners.
Yeah. And I think that's also really good to have that academy internally, not just to sell your own services, but really make sure that everyone, before they even start getting contact with customers or projects, that they have a certain level of knowledge and experience already. That's great.
Yes, and it builds trust as well, So knowing that you are getting the advice from a knowledgeable team, it also builds trust between you and your partner, which is also our value and focus at Redtag here. Yeah, so it's a big everyone should do it, I think.
Yeah. No, very true. And I noticed that as well. And also that combined with the industry knowledge, I will how do you say that? What I've noticed is when a customer wants something, or there's a business analyst, or that's my role, when you explain something like this is the user story, or please let's work on this user story together to actually define it, it helps so much that you actually know the products in the industry and the culture, because all of those things influence the actual requirements and user stories.
Yeah, indeed. Great. What are some common challenges businesses face during the Salesforce implementation, and how can they overcome them?
Well, I would say user adoption. That's pretty much, by far the biggest challenge I see. Very often, that's or most of the times, it's actually very much linked to data quality. And I know those two seem those two worlds apart, but you might have an amazing looking system and really fancy reports and dashboards and everything. But if the data that's under that, same as with your AI tools, if your data under that is unreliable, incomplete, and everything, you might as well just throw out the shiny Salesforce environment. Yeah, so those data quality, user adoption, yeah, two biggest ones. And then let's say more technical or data flow issue is more the integration with other systems.
Yeah, indeed. Can also agree on this one. But how can they overcome those challenges?
Well, I mean,
In
talk
your
to us.
opinion?
Yeah, I think the first one
Yeah.
is with user adoption and data quality. Just first of all, raise the awareness internally that this is an issue that you need to pick up from all different levels. And that, for instance, an integration is say with your ERP system or your web shop or your marketing platform, is not just a quick app exchange download. It connects to two systems, because only then that's where the fun starts. Like, where does your data go? And I think another project that has been my role to make sure that that data flow goes from A to B, and that can get very detailed. So all I'm trying to say is don't underestimate it, and please don't do everything by yourself or on your own. That's asking for trouble.
Yeah, you're right. And actually, experienced partner can predict and mitigate those risks and challenges. So we as Redtag also got such experience. We had many different projects and learned many lessons. And when some failure happened, right, with you once, you will never want to do the same mistake again. So that's why it's important to actually have experienced partner by your side, basically.
Yeah, and it can be little easy things. I can remember in my first 6 months that that I was also a consultant somewhere. Just twice in a week, we just sent a random email, like a template that we're testing to every single customer and partner of our customer. You only do that once, once in a week or twice in 1 week, and then after that, never again.
Yeah. All right. Finally, Andre, what do you see as the next steps for businesses that are looking to expand their Salesforce offerings in the NL, for example, or Benelux region, for example?
It's I would say a few things. That definitely think about the also on a strategic level. Like, hey, this partner, usually it's not for 2 weeks that you partner up with someone. What do we want to get out of this? Like, build a business case for yourself internally. If you can't do that, we can also help with that, of course. Yeah, indeed. Use the partner, or use us, use Redtag for identifying the trends, what's coming, roadmaps, that kind of stuff. And also, yeah, build a strong relation, which also includes don't burn all your bridges. Salesforce world is quite small, also in in Europe, or this side of Europe. And coming back to the very first thing we said about the about the change, if you don't have a bit of an agile approach, and it doesn't mean use agile project methodology, but be agile as a company, a team, or a project, yeah, that will help you stay ahead, or at least not sink.
Yeah, I liked the way you talked about strategic approach, and the world is very dynamic nowadays, right? So businesses must be ready to optimize their own processes regularly, but not just do it once, because it's almost impossible in our world to make some process working now perfectly, and that it will work for a long time perfectly, like
Yeah.
for always. So and it's important to have someone who can help you stay innovative and achieve your strategic goals, basically. Yeah. Thank you, Andre, for sharing your valuable insights with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you're going into conclusion, it's clear that choosing the right Salesforce partner, understanding the market needs, and leveraging AI-driven solutions are quite essential for success for businesses. And not only in NL or Benelux region, I think worldwide. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in to the Redtag podcast. Stay tuned for more episodes where we explore trends, insights in Salesforce ecosystem. Let's move to questions, Olena, right?
Yes.
Do we have?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Oleg. Thank you very much, Andrea, for such an interesting and insightful conversation, discussion about the staff services. So please feel free to ask any other different questions. So I will check our chat. Okay, we have only one question. What are the biggest challenges businesses faced when starting with Salesforce, and how can they overcome them?
Yeah, we talked about it for a bit, right?
Okay, yes.
But maybe not when starting with Salesforce. So we talked about the Salesforce implementations as a whole, like user adoption challenges and data integrations, etc. Andre, would you add something like when business want to start with Salesforce? What will be the biggest challenges for them?
I think the biggest challenge is probably trying to figure out what you need, because that's very often different to what you would like to have. So yeah, that's also, as I mentioned, I think it's also important to either go shopping and talk to other customers, or of course partners. But sometimes you don't want to talk to a partner, just to get to have someone ask you, like, hey, but what about this? Ask why several times, and quite often you get to the actual what you need.
And I would say businesses should be ready that they would need to change their business processes to a better shape, let's say. Because usually when you jump into implementation, you see your own gaps, and then you can kind of cover and optimize your processes. So
Yeah.
that's also
Yeah,
can be a
correct.
challenge for businesses. Kind of, I'm not ready to change my processes, but I
Yeah.
would like to use Salesforce. And then it means that there should be many changes, many customizations, etc., etc. Yeah, and businesses should be ready for it.
Yes, because I think that's our last thing about that one. What you also often see is that processes or sub-processes are sometimes have been like that for years, because the system or systems they use kind of force that. And then with Salesforce, some of those processes can just be changed and made a bit more efficient. Or sometimes sub-processes, administrative overhead can just disappear. Well, hopefully that's the case anyway, or else you wouldn't get something like Salesforce.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks.
Thank you much, Oleg, Andrea. Maybe any other questions from our guests?
I did see another comment in the chat. I just may want to respond to that. So for what I mentioned is, make sure your data is okay before you start doing stuff with AI. Of course, there is no, there will never be a situation in any company, no matter how big or small you are, that you will that you will have 100% perfect data. But of course, AI tools can also help you with that data. So that's a good nuance to see. AI can also help you actually get there before you start using, let's say, start with analytical AI first before you fully commit on your generative AI or predictive AI.
Yeah, great insight.
Thank you, Andrea, for your comment. So if we have no other questions, thank you again for your time. Thank you again, Oleg, Andrea. Thank you, our guests, for joining us to this podcast, and thank you for your time again. And let's meet on our other follow podcasts and webinars. Please feel free to follow us in LinkedIn, in our social media, and we always put information about our marketing activities to our website. So have a good day and see you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.